East Podcast, WATP.
The show hosted by Todd Pettengill, Amanda Scott, his daughter, and House, the producer. But you know what? Before we get into that, I want to start with his last day on radio.
Oh, great.
I think that's a good place to start because then we can kind of match that energy with what happens on the show when he moves to Texas and does a show. So if you don't know, Todd was part of Scott and Todd, Scott Shannon, a radio legend who just retired like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Finally retired in the 70s. And they had this show that was #1 in New York for like boring people. Some demo. I'm not sure.
Soccer moms.
Soccer moms. People who have no taste in anything. It's wild. But
there is I used to think that when people found a certain show, whether it's Opie and Anthony or Howard Stern or whatever, that everyone would love that show. But there's that giant lump of people that really want something very simple.
Yes.
And they tapped into that so well.
They did. And so Scott and Todd did this show. I think it was at the hit station, if I'm not mistaken.
WPLJ?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
okay.
CHR.
Right. Okay. So they were the morning drive for that and just bubblegum. And I only know about it. I didn't live in New York. I only know about it because they became a target of Jocktober every single year. O&A had a field day with these two guys, especially because, Scott Shannon was just out of it at that point.
Yeah.
He was pretty much relegated. He would say like one sentence an hour. And even then they'd be giving him a look like, that's too much, Scott.
But he did start the show.
My job.
And he brought Todd in. I think he was there from 91 to 2004, and then I think he brought Todd in.
Yes.
Maybe it was before that. And then they were Scott and Todd, and then Todd runs Scott out the door and says, "I don't need this old man. He's out of it. So I do this on my own."
So they had great ratings, and Todd pushed Scott out. And then their ratings plummeted.
Yes.
Because everyone was under the impression that this is Todd's show. He does all the crank calls. He does all the parodies. All we need is Todd Pettengill. And it turns out that the people who were listening, for some reason, love Scott Shannon. They were loyal to Scott.
Scott went to WCBS and was #1.
Yes.
He started a month after the Scott and Todd show ended.
He then called in to Opie and Anthony and was completely vindicated, which was an amazing story arc for Scott Shannon. But whatever, Scott Shannon, good on him. We got to talk about Todd because Todd went on with his partner Jade, Todd and Jade show.
It started with just Todd. Jade was added, I assume, because things weren't going so well.
Right. He needs someone to bounce all his wacky ideas off.
And that got ugly, too. He talks about it in the final show, how, we had our bubba, everything was cool, and we decided to be friends. But it sounds like it was ugly when they pushed Jade onto him.
A lot of ugliness took place. Well, on May 31st, 2019, they did their final show, and we have some clips from their final break that Drew grabbed for us.
Yes, and this is... Okay, our show had great success before we were fired. We were still doing very well when we were fired. Ooh. And honestly, no one cried on the last day.
Oh, you guys were all blubbering retards?
No, no one cried.
How important you are to the city of Detroit. Now they're all going to miss you. You didn't do any of that?
It was a sad day, but, everybody felt pretty good about it, actually. I mean, it was surprising, but nonetheless. And by the way, the show that replaced us has done fine. So it wasn't the end of the world. And, we've moved on. I did a shitty radio show and then started a podcast. But these people all are just completely torn up over this. And they seem to think everyone should be. Do you want to start with Christine? They're kind of giving their final synopsis or just... Yeah, their last word.
One by one, Todd lets the different players on the show come in and have their final words, and then Todd's going to wrap things up. But it starts with Christina. It gets off to a rough start. I'm not going to lie. I was at the Airbnb today. My brother's here with us. He's in studio, and he could hear me from the other room cracking up laughing when I was listening to these clips.
And I think Christina is ready. She has gathered.
Yeah, come on, Christina.
I am. So, I don't know. Before I came here, when I thought about 95.5, I thought about Summers by the Pool and it just blasting in the backyard when I was a little girl and hearing Scott and Todd and Race Taylor and Joey Kramer and all these legends. And I never thought that I would be here, that I would start at a legendary station like 95.5, and for you guys to let me in and join the show, and you all have like these personalities like Annie, like genuine heart. You have this heart of gold, and it rubs off on people. And Todd, you have this sense of humor. Like, you've made me laugh every single day of my life.
It did make the listeners laugh, unfortunately.
No. Anyone else remember Mike Schmidt when they were listening to this? I was just a young kid with 2 bad knees. Oh, thank God the dream came true. You would think that she's like a Hall of Fame baseball player with that speech.
John Elway's retirement was very similar.
Yeah, it's like, you were just on a radio show
Just
for
a
a while.
snot fest. Then we move on to Monk, who I believe was the van driver.
Yes, he was the intern.
Yeah, and he moved up.
He moved up because Todd said, "Kid, you got it." This was a big deal for Monk.
I don't know much about New York. I don't get around much. I'll intern there. I'll have fun for a spring semester, and next thing you know, I get hired as an intern. Then I become a promotion person, and then Todd, for some reason, saw me at an event at Right Playland, and I was like a big goofball. And Todd said, "You're pretty good." And so,
I don't think I've ever seen you cry, Monk. It's kind of freaking me out. I can't get over there.
but then I ended up with Scott and Todd, and I learned so much from them. Todd became like a big brother to me and always looked after me, and there were so many years and so many trials and tribulations here, and I could have been out so many times, but Todd always had my back.
If I was on the show, I'd be like, "Do you want to stop embarrassing yourself? Should we move on?" These people are just letting him go with this. Is terrible.
Oh, it's so
Get that, Todd. And finally, I met my wife, who was a promotion director here, and I can't imagine. God, I sound like a jerk off.
It's worse than that,
I
actually.
mean, I wasn't going to say that because you're already crying, but yeah.
I can't imagine my life without Teresa, and I kind of, she's like the most amazing and kind person I've ever met, and for someone to put up with someone like me for so long.
Yeah, she does deserve a medal.
Yes, a round of applause for Teresa.
Yeah, Teresa, we love you.
Wow.
Who cries like that?
Oh, man.
So embarrassing.
This show
Sounds like a Muppet.
is this a cult? I mean, it's really
No, you know what I think it is?
strange.
And I think there's going to be a tip about this in this next clip, but I think these are all unemployable rejects who are realizing they're never going to get another gig like this. I forget, because why else would you sob like this?
Well, there's a lot of Todd ass kissing. I think maybe they think Todd is going to help them get a job down the road, because Todd, the all-powerful Todd, who failed miserably, by the way. I mean, this thing is done. Scott beat him, starting over at WCBS.
Which is great. And so Annie is the next one up, and this is sad.
You know, my husband and I was like, I feel like I finally made it. I'm at PLJ. We're doing great. We bought a house in January, and we were hoping to tell you guys we were having a second baby. But after the announcement of the station being sold, we lost the baby at 10 weeks.
Oh,
and then
God.
Cooper died 4 days later. And I said, my life is like crumbling in front of me. And then I got the news about my sister in remission from cancer. I said, this is what life is all about. And this is the opportunity to work with you guys and reach people. And we take all of that stuff we're going through in our personal life, and we bury it down inside, and we come in and we laugh. We make fun of each other, and we just have fun. Because it's our job to forget all the crap in our life and make you smile.
Yeah.
So I might understand this woman had a rough year. We bought a house in January, and the next week they're like, "Yeah, we're going to let this show go in 6 months." Did they give them 6 month notice?
They did have significant time.
And they couldn't say anything about it?
No.
That sucks.
But that's why I don't understand why they're crying their eyes out.
Right.
They've known all this time. They should have already cried if they were going to cry. But doesn't she suggest that the announcement made her miscarry?
Yes. She was so upset.
Is that possible?
And her kid's like, "Get me the fuck out of here." This woman's a lunatic.
I mean, it seems like she's
Nature has its ways.
she's trying to guilt somebody.
Yeah. Mom wants her job. I'm out of here.
Wow.
All right. So let's go over to Todd now. He's going to say his piece. And you wrote in your note to me when you sent me the timestamp, "Get ready to laugh." This is so pathetic.
I want to thank all of you guys. I didn't think, there's been a lot of changes, and I took a lot of personal blame
Yeah.
for what happened
Should have.
Sounds like you regret it.
at the radio station and tried to build a new team to move forward. And couldn't have had a better one.
I think you could have.
Yeah, probably.
I'm sorry. I apologize. I don't. When Jade came in, obviously it was an adjustment, and we, two strong-willed personalities, and we just put all that aside and became friends. And
Jade's like, we did.
I respect you, and I appreciate the things you brought out in me, because I was, very guarded person.
Back when he had ratings.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
What is going on?
Take all the time you need.
Yeah.
We had a nickel
got
every
you.
time Todd cried. We'd have a nickel.
Wait. No, we did get Todd to cry one time. Remember,
Oh,
on
that's
his
right.
birthday.
Okay, so we'd have 10 cents. Okay.
We'd have 10 cents.
And,
Wait, cried on his birthday?
Yeah, what is that all about?
It's my birthday.
No one remembered.
You know, so when he said, I apologize, no one said, oh, no, Todd, it's not your fault.
Yeah, you notice that? He seems like he's full of regret. Like he knows he fucked this all up.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for all the greatness and our job is to make you laugh. I mean, the ratings tanked.
Yes, they sure
I mean,
did.
they're so self-important about this, and yet it didn't work. You'd think they were talking about, a show that was number one for 20 years.
Right, like a retirement kind of thing, not a you're fired, no one's listening anymore.
Yeah.
All right, well, this is Todd's tribute to Annie. I think he's most concerned about Annie finding another gig.
if anybody in radio is listening, and we'll obviously replay this and make fun of me. And
Yeah.
that's okay. Hire Annie
For
because,
years to come.
She's amazing, and I always knew just the person you were. I knew you immediately, and really want to thank you for all that you've done to help the show and all that you sacrificed personally in the commuting, which was, you're one of a kind, and thank you for that. Monk,
You could skip over me. It's all right.
Commuting. Drew, I want you to thank me for commuting.
Oh, I'm sorry, Brandon. I didn't know you were going to total your car and have a seizure.
I think it was the other order, but that would be worse, I guess.
If you chose to move that far away, but anyway.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, Annie is like obviously unemployable, and he feels bad. He's like, yeah, go buy a house. That's a great idea. Start a family, have another kid. Yeah, definitely. Oh, shit, we're fired. I'm sorry. I probably should have given you that.
I don't think as close as this group is. I mean, they sound like a family, don't they? I don't think any of them have ever worked together since.
No.
Because Todd has a new crew on his podcast.
Right.
So that's weird.
Well, he also moved to Texas. He got as far away from these people as possible. Probably part of it. But let's talk about Monk, the intern who drives around the van. Let's talk about how important he is to the show.
Get a couple of Kleenex boxes for this one.
I knew right away, too, that Monk was somebody that
drove the van,
was going to be a star, and did so much behind the scenes and never got credit for barely half of what he did.
Whose fault is that?
That's a great point. And secondly, like, what did he not get credit for? Driving the other interns to the to the bar to hand out shots? What are you talking about?
Picking up chicks when he gave out the T-shirts.
Yeah, right.
Passing out stickers.
Right. All right, so finally, Todd gathers himself after he goes through and he tells everyone how great they are and he's crying about it. And then he realizes that, oh, I'm not actually that upset when I talk about my own family.
I love you, and I'll always do whatever I can for you. My family, obviously my wife Carrie and my daughters Amanda and Haley, who just always supported me and really took the brunt of, the sacrifices that we make to do a show like this, where you don't have a personal life. You sacrifice that, and they always understood that.
Why is he not crying?
He's not
He stopped
crying.
crying.
But also, can I just translate what he just said?
Yeah.
He was also a horrible father and husband.
Right.
He wasn't around at all. So he didn't get along with his coworkers. His family doesn't like him.
I don't know. I found that so odd that the breathing, it takes him 2 seconds between every thought and word. He's crying so hard, and then all of a sudden he gets his family and he gathers himself.
Yeah. Anyway, my kids, my wife.
Yeah, thanks, you guys. Okay. You gave up everything.
You trying to cry?
I'm sad.
All right, one more clip out here from Todd. His final thoughts.
I am humbled to have been able to be part of your lives for almost 29 years.
Yeah,
I need that drop.
And there's no way I can ever repay you for taking me into your lives. But I hope
here we go.
that along the way, I've given you some laughter, some genuine fun moments, and I thank you very much.
The self-importance.
Yeah.
It kind of takes me back to the original when they started the show and they had that big, just ridiculous intro about the hallowed halls and the ghosts that walk the superstars of WPLJ, and that somewhere there's a woman with a 6-year-old who's been up all night sick, and it's our job to give them something to laugh at. And here he seems to be sort of saying, I hope we gave you that. I mean, like it's really a critical component to their life, the Todd show.
He needs one last pat on the back. Guys, can you also remind everyone that I'm funny and everyone laughs at my jokes and their lives are not good? He goes, I was in these people's lives for 29 years. Well, actually, no, you were for about like 26. There are other people in their lives, so that's why you're no longer on the radio. But yeah, the importance he's putting on his stupid morning show that people blindly put on during their commute to soccer practice.
I don't think it's that kind of a show, too. There are shows, Howard Stern, for example, that people live for. I mean, they love it. It gets them through everything. And they'll tell you that, it was so great when I was going through cancer or my parents are dying or whatever. I don't think this is that kind of a show.
No.
At all.
No, because it's a top 40. It's kind of mindless entertainment stuff. And then there's a prank phone call and then...
on the 30s.
Right.
Every hour at 30 after. I didn't realize it was every hour. They run 2 new ones every day, and then they run the 2 from the day before on the other 30s.
Yeah. And, of course, every prank phone call would end with...
Is that a Todd creation, by the way?
No, it was like some commercial for gum or something that they took it from. I don't remember what it was. So, all right, so very sad, tearful goodbyes in 2019, but then Todd takes his show to the internet, and he's so stupid about transitioning from radio to digital, he calls the show HeyTodd.com. That's the name of the show, the website.
Yeah, that seems kind of behind the times, to say the least.
For sure. So I want to start off this. I checked out an episode April 1st of 2020. So this is how
April Fool's Day.
April Fool's Day, and this producer House that's on the show.
Yeah,
man, he cracks up at everything, and he thinks April Fool's Day is a hoot.
Hey everyone, welcome to April the 1st. Yay! April Fool's Day. We're the biggest fools on the planet. Yeah. We have a list.
April Fool's Day. Ha ha! Who are the biggest fools?
He thinks he's moving the radio show to podcast. I mean, it sounds like a radio show.
Yeah. He's surrounding himself with dummies who get way too excited about nothing. I mean, this guy's job, it's only an hour-long show. He has to be exhausted after this. He gets home from work. He's like, look, I've been laughing at Todd's nonsense for 60 minutes. I just need 3 or 4 hours by myself.
Can we watch Schindler's List, please?
I just need a break.
Do you know where House came from, by the way? I don't.
No, I have no idea.
Okay, because he wasn't part of the previous show.
No, he's just a guy with free time.
I guess so.
Because they call him the producer, but all his job is only just there to laugh. at whatever Todd's saying because there's another guy who you never see who's actually running the show.
Okay. Well, Todd does crack him up.
Oh, I mean, this guy thinks Todd's the funniest person on the planet. He's like, why is Dave Chappelle getting all this money from Netflix? Why isn't Todd Pettengill signing these deals?
And this is behind a paywall from day one, correct?
Yes. And you know how much it cost a month?
Was it $10?
$9.95 because he was on 99.5.
Brilliant.
Yes.
Why would you want to remind people of your failure?
Or no, maybe it was 95.5. Was it 95.50? One of those.
95.5.
Yeah, 95.5. So, yeah, because he just assumed that all these people who are listening to him in New York were going to be like, oh, I need Todd in the morning, not whatever replaces Todd on that same station I was listening to. I need Todd, and it wasn't the case.
But there's no way to listen to him without paying $9.95. So I have to believe the subscriber level was incredibly low.
It definitely was low because he quit after just a little while and blamed COVID. He's just like, well, no one's listening to shows or watching video with COVID. It's like, no, just the opposite.
Yeah,
that's all anyone's doing.
I saw that. And not only that, the producer House that we're all falling in love with because he's great, he didn't even show up on the last day. He bailed.
What?
He just bailed.
Oh, that's right. I saw the last show. Yes, he did.
He bailed.
Scott ragged him, too.
He did. He was pissed.
Well, we'll have to revisit that at some point. So for whatever reason, they're using this fisheye lens. I think it's to make the place look bigger than it actually is when they go around and they show everybody. So he's going to introduce his two co-hosts here.
Say hello to Amanda Schott.
Hi.
Give it up for House, the producer.
It's April Fool's Day.
You know, I just realized who you remind me of when you do the sign-on. Charles Nelson Riley.
Charles Nelson Riley?
Now, that is an older reference.
I know who Charles Nelson Riley is.
Okay, right? It's like, or Paul Lind.
Yeah.
Somebody from the Squares.
That's a ridiculously old reference.
Well, it's also not accurate in any single way. How's it just being
Charles Nelson Riley is like this.
Everyone confuses those two people. They're very different people. Yes. Charles Nelson Riley and Paul went very different. I know they're on game shows. I know they were gay, but their personalities are very different. As a match game aficionado, I took offense to that.
They're also very different from House.
Well, yeah, no, I know. It's a horrible impression. None of it made any sense. But, of course, House was cracking up. He's like, oh, you got my number. God damn you, Todd.
I have to tell you, though, I love that signature. Hi! Oh, my God.
I thought it could be more higher energy. I would have been like, bring it up a little bit. Come on, let's have some fun here today.
I just noticed the tagline, too. Real people, real funny. Under HeyTodd.com.
Yes, that was the tagline for this show. Now, the problem with the real funny part, Drew, you'll remember this. I was listening to your show every day. April 1st, 2020, you know what was going on at this time.
Oh, man, I remember.
Oh, boy.
That was COVID time.
We had lockdowns. We had social distancing. We didn't know what was going on. Everyone's got to stay in the house. We were mad at people if they're outside. And so Todd's having
podcasts were born.
Yes, correct. So Todd's having a hard time figuring out what he should do.
They're saying now the next 2 weeks are going to be the absolute worst.
Yeah.
So we have to brace ourselves for that. It's very difficult for me to find a tone that I think is what you want. I'm not sure. Do we need to talk more about it? Do we need to talk less about it? Do we need to take... I don't know. It's one of those things that's very difficult. I like to think that this can be a distraction. Sort of like poor Amanda sneezing and coughing. You would think that the corona started over there in that area. You see that area over there on the far side of the room? You would think corona was born over there.
That's gross.
Why?
I don't think the tone is having the average white band in the background.
Probably not.
I think.
Well, I also like the fact that he goes, well, what do you guys want me to do? It reminds me of Krusty in that episode where he's just like, just tell me what you want me to do. It's like, no, this is not you, Todd. You tell us. You make it happen. He's not sure. Because he's a wacky morning guy.
Well, he's trying to connect. He's trying to get feedback to know how he should go forward with this.
And I understand that was a difficult time, but I think he probably should have figured that out before he went on his show and mentioned he has no idea what to do. And, Amanda's over there sneezing a lot. I bet she has coronavirus. By the way, they're projecting 2 million will die in the United States before the year's up. Hey, let's play a game. Let's play. It'll be fun. He doesn't know what to do with himself.
They do play a lot of... They play a lot of games on the show.
They do.
Which is
we'll get into that. We'll get into that. There's something very funny that happened on this episode. But before we go there, they're talking about the importance of social distancing, and they're like mad at people who are going outside at this time. Oh. And so they give us a meme that will help us all figure out how to live our lives.
Don't
you know
be
what I mean?
Selfish.
Yeah.
Keep these numbers down. Nobody wants to see this get worse.
I saw my favorite meme yesterday.
Oh, boy.
And this really puts it in perspective. Do you want to be the one responsible for killing Betty White?
Right?
Yeah! That was like the greatest meme ever.
Stay inside, save Betty White.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Who wants to be the one to bring the corona to Betty White?
Right.
Not me.
Does Betty White hang around with a lot of complete strangers?
I went to the grocery store, not Betty White's dead. God damn it. I just felt like I needed some supplies.
Yeah, Betty's having a party. It's open to the public. I screwed up. I didn't feel well. I had a sniffle, and I had no idea.
It was a weird time to be alive. And bringing me back to this time in this episode, I was like, oh, yeah, this all sucked a lot. And I didn't pull a lot of clips from them talking about what was going on with the pandemic. We lived through it. We don't want to revisit that. But it was just wild how they were just scolding people. This was the time when they were bringing the big medical ship to New York City, to the harbor.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And people were out there like videotaping it and photographing it. They're like, what are they doing?
How dare they?
How dare they be outside watching this? They should be in their homes. Everyone needs to be in their home right now. I was like, I forgot how crazy this got. People thought that was normal to just be like.
And then they got a listener to call in the show. Listener jumped in and was a pharmacist, and they were like, oh, God, you are the frontline worker.
A pharmacist.
Thank you so much for what you do.
Yes.
The heroes working at Kroger and Home Depot.
Right. Yes.
Let's have a second for them and their families.
They talked about all of that. So I kind of skipped through that because that wasn't very fun. But then they play the game Beat the House. And you know it's going to be fun when you got a fun intro.
I know. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Beat the House. Very exciting game. And there is our contestant, Megan, on the phone. Let's bring her up. Hi, Megan.
Hi.
Drew used to be on a morning show. When you guys played music, maybe an intro to a segment or something, did you dance around in your seat?
No.
Uncontrollably, like House just was? Oh, you lose your mind over some generic game show music?
I'm stunned that House lasted through this whole show. I would think Todd, having been in the business as long as he would go, oh, God, this is just a disaster.
Yeah, give him some notes. I think Todd likes this. Todd doesn't know what's good, obviously.
No, I think what's good is if you laugh at Todd.
Right. He does his Jerky Boy impression, phone calls. He does his horrible song parodies where he shoehorns in all these syllables that don't work. And so he's a cornball. He doesn't get it. If there's a guy cracking up laughing, he's like, I like this guy. We should keep this guy around more often. He's fun.
Well, all those people on the show when they introduce it, which Opie and Anthony, that's one of my favorite Jocktobers, is the first Todd show.
Yeah.
He's introducing all those people. He picked a whole new staff. Mm-hmm. You know, he dumps Shannon, and then they're off the air, I think, for 2 weeks, and it's a whole new, like, I'm finally doing it my way. And then that staff bombs, and now he's got a whole new staff again. And you would think with this much experience, I mean, almost 30 years doing a morning show in New York, he would have better judgment than this.
Drew, don't you think that he wants to surround himself with people who are less talented than him? That's why he saw Monk and went, "This guy's perfect. I don't have to worry about him taking my job the way I took Scott's."
Yeah, he's the van driver.
Right. I think he purposely surrounds himself with people who aren't very good at this.
Yeah, he's the van driver who cried when I noticed he was a little more talented than that.
He said he was
perfect.
Pretty good. And then Todd said I was pretty good. Okay, let's get back into this game show. Basically, what happens is they ask a trivia question. If the person doesn't get it, the other person can steal it and get the points. And
look at the smile on that person's face.
Yeah,
playing.
That's Megan, the contestant.
Wow.
And I don't know if you realize this. It's unbelievable. Megan is hilarious.
Oh, great.
She says something, and everyone loses their minds over it.
Wow.
He's got a barn burner going
3
here.
points.
I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't understand what's
All right, it's all right,
happening.
Megan, you're still alive. It's all rocking here. We're totally fine. No problem.
Good. I was a little concerned for a second.
Yeah, I bet. She's like, yeah, well, okay, Todd, whatever.
I'm so glad I got
She's awesome.
I really don't care. You know, I'm just
She's so
I'm playing a game. I do what I do, whatever.
Wow.
She really didn't say anything, and they just kept escalating, getting funnier and funnier.
Look at House's face. I mean, it's like he's just heard the most hilarious, diatribe or what. He's like he's at a Chappelle show.
He actually looks like an orc.
Yeah, one of the smaller ones.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I get it.
One of the ones you could take if you had a sword. Right. Okay, this is where I couldn't believe that this was happening right here. Now, I realize we live in America. We don't have the metric system. But the reason why the metric system exists and why it's popular around the world is because of its simplicity. Mm-hmm. Everything's multiples of 10.
It's true.
That's how it works, no matter what you're measuring. And so House is stupid.
He won't know this.
How many meters are there in 1 kilometer?
Meg.
Drew, any idea how many meters there are in a kilometer?
Meters in a kilometer? No.
Okay. Brandon?
I'd say about a kilo.
Okay, so I guess this is a hard question. Kilo means 1,000.
I fully rejected the metric system like every other American.
Okay.
Except
All right.
you, apparently.
It's that easy. Kilo equals 1,000. Okay, let's see what Ian thinks about this.
Megan, Google this while we're asking him.
2,175.
What?
I have no idea.
That's retarded.
Yeah, it's not like miles.
No, it's not a conversion where it's like there's 5,200 feet in a mile or something like that. It's very simple to do. So this gets crazier because this question's also too hard for Megan.
All right.
Ish.
So we're going to Megan for the steal. You need this one, Megan. You gotta have this one. I hope you Googled it. How many meters in 1 kilometer?
He's mouthing it to her.
0.5.
She just said 0.5. All right. She thinks that there's 0.5 meters in a kilometer. All right. Maybe she'll get it. Maybe she'll figure it out here.
100.
That's right.
Okay. I'm going to back that up. They're showing her. They're doing hand motions. And so she says...
What'd she
100.
say? That's right.
Wow. She is a math person.
How did she pull that out?
She's a math person, obviously.
Look at how she's no idea.
Wow.
Completely 100% oblivious.
Wow.
Still, that
That's
means we're alive.
Yeah, so if she gets,
Uh-oh, retard alert. Retard alert, class.
So no one knows what a kilometer is on this show. They said 100. They go, yep, that's the answer right there. Which is wild to me because 100 meters and 1,000 meters is such a crazy difference. If you just thought about how, like, on your speedometer, the kilometers are not that far behind miles, you might figure out pretty quick that it's not like 3 first downs.
It's not hectometer.
Yes, it's a hectometer, right?
How is House not watching them doing this? They're in the same room.
Well, because House is tanking on purpose because they want the listener to win.
Oh, I see.
There's no stakes or anything.
That's cute.
Yes, it's
Trying to
cute.
get fired.
So I couldn't believe this was happening, and apparently no one else knew that there's 1,000 meters in a kilometer except for me and Chris. But you would think someone would tell them, someone would look it up. This continues.
No, I didn't mean
there
that.
was
Never
no
mind.
math involved in kilometer, by the way. You just need to know that kilo means 100.
Look at his face.
Well, that's retarded.
Why would kilo mean 100? And she's so sure of herself, too. He's like, by the way, idiot, everyone knows kilo means 100. All right, if you say so. I have one more clip on here because this is the funniest thing that House has ever heard. You've never seen him laugh harder than this.
Impractical Jokers, the movie, drops today. Now, his wallet's almost coming out already. He's like, I'm in on this, baby.
I hate those people. Hate's strong. I shouldn't hate anyone. If my mother was still alive, she heard me say that. She said, I turned the program off. I was watching the program with your father. When you said you hated a person, I was so disappointed. I wanted to hang myself with my own bath court. She said things like that, which is why I've turned out the way I pretty much did. Yeah. I would like to take my own bathrobe belt, hang myself from my shower when I heard you say that. You know how that reflects on me as a mother? She would say those things, which is why I'm this. Now, this is what happened. It is. It's why and I go like this. I'm sorry, Ma.
My bad.
Please don't hang yourself from your shower. I would feel bad. Don't do that.
Check House's blood pressure.
He had to cover his mouth. He's like, am I ruining the show by laughing too much? We try to contain myself. Wow. With all this hilarity. So that's...
Why did Todd's mom sound like a gay man, by the way?
Because that's the only voices he can do.
Okay.
He does a few voices. Sometimes he ends up getting right into the radio voice, and sometimes he's got to forget about it voice.
Yep. Oh, did you notice they'll bring up Al Pacino, for example, so he can do his Al Pacino, even if he's just barely in the news.
Right. So yeah, they definitely work around his talents.
Yes.
True, which is an important thing to do. So the good news is this show is behind the paywall. It is now all available on HeyTodd.com. I don't know how long it's going to be there. It's up there by season. Are there 5 seasons of this?
I think there's 3. Maybe there are 5, but this is only over the course of a year or so, right?
I think a season's a month because there's like 23 episodes a season for some reason.
I think that's right.
It's
maybe he's trying to act like it lasted longer than it did.
Oh, that's a good point. That's a good point. So, yeah, we'll have to come back and check in on some of these episodes. I got to find ones that aren't so COVID heavy.
But you know, this is really incredible when you think about it. The fact that this team splits up, and clearly Scott is greater than Todd.
Yep.
Because Scott is number 1 at CBS. PLJ falls way down in the ratings. This guy is doing a podcast. He was talking to, I would imagine in New York, probably well over 1 million people a week.
Yes.
And he cannot monetize a podcast.
And we see this time and again with a lot of radio personalities who have a big audience that apparently they're more excited about the frequency than the voices that are coming through that frequency.
Who are these podcasts? WA